Good evening, everyone. Not feeling too well tonight, so I'm on the old Lemsip. It's one of those chesty coughs and sore throats. And it's not even one of those good ones, because there are times when I get a sore throat and it gives me the voice of Patrick Allen or Tommy Vance. If you haven't heard it, go and listen to my voiceover show reel, parts 1 and 2, and that's what I sound like, with a full-blown frog in my throat. I have this purr. I could sell you anything from a house even to butter, with the voice of Tommy Vance, but it's not this time. Anyway, I digress. And you eagle-eyed viewers may notice a cheekily draped beach towel in the background. I'm not going to explain why, it's just the way I roll. But I want to talk about political violence. This has been prompted by people I know on Facebook and Twitter and other social media, who just they think it's okay to put on their feeds that it's okay to punch various politicians. Somebody slap Michael Gove, for example. Somebody nut Boris Johnson. Somebody knife David Davis. I just think it's a bit weird. Not to mention illegal. I point this out to them. Yes, you have freedom of speech up to a point, but even though I complain about the nebulous hate speech laws we have in the United Kingdom, where anything can be interpreted as a hate speech, if the person at the receiving end decides it's hate speech, feels that somebody's words of dislike somehow constitute a threat. But when you say you want to punch a politician, you're actually airing your desire to physically threaten them. If you post on social media, somebody should punch Michael Gove, somebody should nut Boris Johnson, somebody should tread hard on Jacob Rees-Mogg's foot, that's actually incitement, and it's always been illegal. This is where you and I can agree on. If you believe in hate speech laws, and I'm not particularly in favour of them, except when it comes to threatening actual physical violence against somebody, then you and I can be in agreement. Just saying you dislike somebody, you think somebody's a twat or a knob or awful human being, ruining things. You can criticise the person, criticise the policy, criticise their actions. Absolutely, go for it. And be as nasty or as catty as you like. But once you actually start talking about making physical contact with someone, and so I want this to be a warning to my friends and to anybody else who stumbles upon this video, that there's a line, right? And even on social media, and even if you say it's a joke, because I've seen many people go down for far less offences. People have had their Twitter accounts removed permanently, and people have been harassed on Facebook. They've had the threat of Facebook sanctions, and there's one chap in Scotland who's going to court because he made a joke video about teaching a dog how to do a Nazi salute. And what do you think you're going to get? There's legislation on the books saying, if you threaten an MP, you're going to go before the courts. So, and just offer that as a warning. And I want to expand into this whole thing of sort of articulating violence towards politicians. This is a weird one, because we live in a liberal democracy, and I've got to say, I've got to call you out on this, guys. If you're on the left, it's mainly you. You are the ones who talk about punching politicians you don't like, punching various Tories, spitting on Tories. There were scenes this week in on campus. Jacob Rees-Mogg was giving a talk, and a bunch of lefties tried to have him shut down, and they were yelling and abusing him, and he remained calm. And to his credit, he said he never felt physically threatened. This is Britain. People don't go around punching people. But I actually think You know, there are people who are capable of it, and they articulate it. You can't take anything for granted. And I just think it's unacceptable. But you punch someone, or you threaten to punch someone, the police can get involved. But I would say, you know, don't even give them that excuse. Be the better person. You know, you've got to articulate your arguments a lot better. If you feel that the only recourse you have is violence, then may I suggest that you are either A, not comfortable or sure of your own arguments, therefore you have to resort to violence to get them across, or B, you're just not smart enough or sharp enough to engage in argument and debate. And you know that there's always a risk when you debate people that you will lose, that your opponent will be better at speaking, better at articulating their arguments than you. It's a risk you take, but at least everybody gets to go home without having suffered any physical injury, and surely that's a good thing. That's a thing we can all agree on. And it's the best if, even though we're across the political divide, at least we go home with our limbs intact. You know, only our egos bruised, not our bodies. So please bear that in mind. There's a number of other things I want to talk about this week. I want to talk about Brexit. It's about time I did. And specifically, here's one I'm going to leave you with in the last 3 minutes I'm going to have in this video. And this is for anybody who is in the pro-Remain camp, if you believe in the EU. And I want you to stop what you're doing for a moment. And what you're doing is that you're always denigrating Brexiters. You're always denigrating the Leave camp, always denigrating the people who voted to leave. And I want you to stop. And I want you to stop beating your chest and saying this is awful. And I want you to think, just take a few days to think about this, then come back and listen to my second video and think why. Give me 3 reasons why people voted to leave in huge numbers, millions, and from across the country and from different walks of life. Why do you think they voted? And then take another look. Go introspective. This is what I always say about people who are on the losing side of elections. It's a great time to look inwards, self-reflect on yourselves, and identify your weaknesses so you can become stronger. Pardon me, it's the Lemsip. So you can become stronger the next time. And this one is, what was it about the EU that turned so many people off? 52% of voters. What is it about the EU that people don't like? Write down 5 reasons. 3 reasons why you think people voted to leave, and 5 reasons why people don't like the EU. Okay? Do that. Just don't write, because they're all bigots and they're all stupid. No. Think about it. Give your opponent some credit. And let me tell you, voting to leave the EU was the hardest political decision I ever took in my life, and I would suspect that's the same for millions of others. It wasn't easy, but there are reasons that make sense to people who voted leave. And your job is to understand them. Even if you don't agree with them, you need to understand them. And you need to have that little bit of empathy with your political opponents. And this is where it comes back to my original point. It's because that lack of empathy, and sometimes that's an overused word, but this kind of thing, I don't agree with you, but I can see why you took that decision. And then you can frame your arguments a lot better. You can start saying, okay, I'm not going to treat my political opponent like a turd. I'm going to actually understand where they're coming from and then frame my arguments so I can better convince them. And I can address their points and don't run away from the points. And it comes back to, so one thing I admire about Jacob Rees-Mogg is that he's prepared to meet his political enemies. And he's prepared to engage with them. And he's prepared to treat them with respect and argue his point. And I think even if you don't like the man and his policies, that is one thing I think you can admire about him. Anyway, leave your comments below. I will see you in a few days' time. And hopefully either I'll sound like Patrick Allen again or this stuff works.